Aim high, shoot far, aim for the moon. If you miss, you'll hit a star. Hello, hello, Lupus Warriors. Welcome to Better Together, sharing our Lupus stories. I am extra excited today because we are talking about one of my favorite topics. We are talking about exercise, movement, the body being active. And I know for me, it's definitely kept me on point, I like keeping my body tight, nice and looking good. But it also helps bring out the warrior in me. So very excited. My name is Chanel Gabriel. I'm your host today. And don't get it twisted, my Loopies. I definitely have had the days where movement seems counterintuitive, and the bed might have just been my only option. But I definitely want us to think about how tomorrow we can feel better, and we want to just encourage movement to happen, because I know that unmoved joints makes even more stiff joints. But we're going to try to have some guests here, give you some tips around that, and help you. If you love exercise, fitness, movement, whether it be yoga, running, anything that keeps you going, please put that in the chat and show some love to all of those examples of movement, of ways of expressing ourselves through our bodies. So we have some exercise questions, roadblocks that might be getting in your way that we're going to try to push aside. We have not one, but three physical health experts that are going to be joining us, and we are going to take control of your resolutionary, is that even a word? Your resolutions that you have for this year, some of those physical goals. All right, please feel free to post those goals that you have in the chat. And we have, of course, our medical expert that is my co-host, always here, board certified, amazing rheumatologist. She's showing up for us as always to make sure we feel good. We appreciate you. Round of applause to Dr. Michaela Bayard. Welcome.
Hi, co-host. It's great to be back. Excited for another fun, exciting, interactive session tonight with all of our expert guests.
Yes.
So how are you doing?
Listen, I am doing really good. I'm so excited for this topic, but for some reason, I just realized I've never asked you this. What made you choose lupus as your specialty? Random question.
Yeah, it actually was a journey. It wasn't like I've known since I was 5 I wanted to be a rheumatologist. It started because I was an athlete in college. I played soccer, and I thought I wanted to do orthopedics. And actually, as I was going through all my rotations, I found out that I really liked to get to know patients, and relationship building was really important to me. And outside of primary care, rheumatology was a really great way to build these long-term relationships with my patients and still talk a lot about function and activity and movement. So that's a big part of what I do. And actually, we're going to talk with one of our guests about that, trying to get people to restore their full function and do all of the activities they want to do day to day.
That's so important, and it's so good to know the context of why you moved into rheumatology, and that it related to this idea that you really wanted to have relationships, but also the idea of function, our bodies being functional and helping people get there. So I know we have a special guest that is a friend of yours. So I definitely would love to have you introduce our special guest that's going to be helping us think a little bit more about the movement in the body.
Great. Thank you, Chanel. So I'm excited to introduce our first guest. His name is Dr. Leroy Lindsay, and he is actually a physical medicine and rehabilitation doctor. You may also know that category of doctors as physiatrists. But essentially, he works with people who are living with chronic disease, disabilities, and as we're saying, really helps to restore and optimize their physical function. So he may work with someone after an injury. He may work with a person who has inflammatory arthritis, like a lupus patient. And so I'll let him tell you more about what he does, but I'd love to welcome Dr. Lindsay.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So nice to have you here.
Yes. So, like they said, my name is Dr. Lindsay. I'm a board-certified physical medicine rehabilitation physician, or a physiatrist. And exactly as they described, my practice is sort of wide-ranging. It but it all is centered on function, independence, mobility, and then using various tools and interventions to achieve that. And so depending on where someone is starting and the goal they have, and I'll reach for different things and say, oh, I think that this could work. Let's talk about it. And I work as a team member. Most of what I do is in conjunction with other people. I'm coming up with an idea, they're giving me some feedback, and then we're trying to implement that. So this is a great sort of space and topic and time to talk, because this is exactly what I do every day.
And that's so important to hear that you work as a team, because as a health provider, that's so important to me when I'm sending patients I'm working with to another physician, that we're going to be doing this as a team. So say I did send you a patient that I was working with to your office, maybe even a patient who's living with lupus. Tell me a little bit about how you start to build out goals and plans with them.
So I always attempt to look in the referral to see if you've given me a note. If I don't have a little blurb, I will ask the patient exactly that. Do you know why they sent you over? What are you understanding? What is it you're looking for? Just so that we can get an understanding of where we're starting. And from there, we can decide, okay, it's because I'm having issues with X. Maybe I'm having joint pains, or I'm having issues with maintaining my weight and limited by pain or stiffness. And so we're trying to figure out what is the central item that we want to address, and then what have we tried? Where have we started? What things have worked and not worked? What sort of, those are all the things that we really delve into while I'm speaking with them. Where do they live? What's their diet look like? All these things that maybe come up initially.
Mm-hmm.
Other times we'll sort of kind of hit at it as we are, running into roadblocks or trying to figure out something else.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing is for someone to kind of just be referred over to me and I just say, oh, go to PT and just go away. Those folks usually are very disappointed, feel like they've wasted a visit. And those providers usually don't feel like they, have built any relationship or that I've put in any effort there. So that's usually what happens. And I'll very commonly loop around on the back end of the visit, either sending a message or in our electronic medical record, sending something, say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm seeing. Give me any other thoughts. Because I don't want to, give this list or plan and it isn't sustainable. And the provider that referred them is more likely going to be able to tell me, hey, we tried that 2 years ago. It didn't work. Let's come up with something different and not waste, the weeks in between for you to come up with that answer. So that's usually how it works.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying so many important things. It's listening to the patient. I know Chanel, can speak and attest to how important that is to her. But also, really being a part of that team, collaborating with the other physicians you're working with. I know that another big thing you do is you're working with people after major injuries. And I think that you could probably offer us some really important advice about how you help people work through big setbacks. I think you used the word roadblocks.
Absolutely. So on one part of my practice is exactly as you described. After major changes in function, new diagnoses or progressions in disease, and what we are then doing is trying to shift. Maybe we are saying this is a temporary thing, but it's very different from where you started, your functional baseline. And so then I'm just kind of laying the road signs, like we said, of, okay, for the next few weeks, while you're non-weight bearing, while you have activity restrictions, while you're really flared up, this is the most that we're going to do. And that's okay. This is how I am envisioning this going. And so laying that information out just so that there's less surprise and less shock is part of what I really like to do. And say, okay, this is where we're starting. This is what we want to accomplish in this phase. This won't be the end of it, but this is what this section of time is going to look like. And from there, we check in, and at least they know that we can always have another conversation. If something's not working, I'm very passionate about, speaking with the treating therapist or trainers, because I say, like I said before, Medicine is not just this flat thing that happens in a book in a vacuum and then everything stops and goes away until the next visit. It's always dynamic, and you can't really capture that in a note as well as you can if we just had a few words to exchange and say, if we could just figure out this thing, this roadblock, I think we could, continue to progress. And so that's usually what I'm doing with major injuries or even more minor ones, but especially those where we seem to have hit a point and really need to figure out how to work around it.
Mm-hmm.
Usually where I'm going to say, okay, is it an intervention that we need? Is it just another visit? Is it a new medication? Is it a group or family discussion that's required at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Because our expectations just aren't realistic. So all of those are ways that I'll say, this is where we should go and move from there.
So I have a question. So what's the difference between you and like a physical therapist? You mentioned like sending someone there, because I know that a lot of times I'm like, oh, this is achy. Where's my physical therapist? Like, should I just be going straight to you? Should I be asking my doctor to start with you? Or do I start there? Do I just go to a personal trainer? Just thinking about like what's your role in that bigger team?
So that's a great question, and one that is very commonly asked. What normally, or the way I describe it is, I, as a physical medicine and rehabilitation, practitioner, I often actually speak multiple languages. Right? So I'm very familiar with the therapy models, the different schools of thought, the different modalities and equipments and technologies that they use. But I'm also very familiar with the medical and the diagnoses and the imaging and the laboratory testing. So sometimes there is a discrepancy from one provider to another healthcare, worker or team member, and it's sort of assumed that everyone understands what's happening and what's needed. But very commonly, it's actually not very clear. So because I live in both worlds, I also do injections and write prescriptions for different therapies and spend most of my time engaging with therapists and trainers and caregivers that live in these different realms. I end up with this network of, oh, this person's really great for shoulder pain. They don't really like ankles so much. This therapist is, and so then the physical therapists are the ones that are going to actualize a treatment plan from session to session. And then they're going to send back information to say, we're progressing just as we need, or something's going on. Maybe we need imaging. We're just not making any progress. I'm worried about X. And so that's usually how I try to cultivate that loop, because they can't order anything. So if there's a test that they are, or a condition they're concerned about, they can't say, oh, I'm going to change my treatment because I think this is going on. That has to be adjusted in the prescription.
So you're like the coordinator of all of these services in that respect.
So that is one of the things that I will do.
Okay. So you were like, I got the lens, I got the purview. I'm Batman on top of the building. I'm looking over the city and just figuring out where I need to go, where everybody needs to go.
So and then, like I said, occasionally there is a procedure that that knee pain is so bad we need to do an injection. I can do that as well. I use ultrasound. I do those, very regularly as well. But very commonly, I am system management, sort of coordination of care, and really enjoy sort of these complex cases. Some of the ones that are, we've got rheumatology that's really dealing with some of the meds or some of these other, finer details. I'm thinking about all of these other team members and trying to coordinate who we need to touch back in with, who we need to say, all right, we need to take a break, right? Sometimes something that people I don't think are as familiar with is you're going to have a certain number of sessions with your therapist or your trainers or whatever. But if you are now really flared up, you're wasting those sessions. And so they'll sometimes say, hey, so-and-so's not doing great. Should we pause before we, continue and waste their time in sessions? And then we kind of are working around in a different way.
or
It's
make it
another way.
worse, or
Yeah,
actually even make it
or
worse. So
worse.
that's really helpful
Exactly.
for you to be able to be in that perspective there. That's really, really important. And I don't think everyone thinks about the pause. Sometimes there being a pause. That's really, really good and really helpful. So you're pretty much the plug. Okay, we got it. Dr. Lindsay is the plug. So I guess this is really helpful because I don't think we all talk about that. We only wait till when something's going on and then we figure out who we need. But you being here has been really, really, really helpful in getting us to explore that. So, but we're gonna go into some our two other guests. We're gonna bring two other individuals in here, and they are best friends. I don't think we could tell one story of one without telling the other story. So we have them both here together, and they're each other's support warriors. They both are working in this. And some of you might know Kim from her Instagram, House Fitness and Nutrition. And you can find her bestie Nefertiti at Neff and Joy Life. Okay, I'm gonna make sure we put that in the chat just so you can make sure you follow them. But they tell great stories about their experiences in all of this. So we're gonna bring to this virtual stage Kim and Nefertiti. Welcome to Better Together, and they're together. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you have to tell us, what is the secret? How did you two meet, and why are you so in tune with each other? Like you two are peas in a pod, and you support each other both physically and emotionally. How did this relationship start? This friendship?
It was our parents, our mothers actually. Our mothers brought us together. My mother was in the process of getting a divorce, and Kim's mother handled her divorce for her. So they got to talking about, their daughters. And for some reason, lupus came up, and come to find out, Kim had lupus, I had lupus. So immediately our parents felt we should connect. And that's how our friendship blossomed, I believe in 2012. Don't
ask me no years. My memory.
Like, don't date each other. It was yesterday.
Yeah. So that's how it began, through our mothers.
Oh, that's beautiful that you all been able to connect and have each other around this. Because sometimes I know that a lot of times, and people in the chat can talk about it. Feel free to, once again, please continue to communicate with each other. But I know a lot of people feel very alone, and it's so good that you both had each other to help each other through. So I know, Nefertiti, you had some health challenges, and we're talking about wellness and fitness and exercise. And I know, Kim, you have like a whole setup that, you're very much, you have a real process. But Nefertiti, I'm just curious. I know you had some health challenges involving kidneys. Can you talk about how that have impacted your ability, your movement, and your ability to really be active?
Well, 2010 is where my kidney lupus started. Nephritis started in 2010, and I had to start dialysis in actual 2016 is when I started dialysis. But from 2010 up to that point, I was just really in a bad state. I was really weak. I had a lot of joint pain. But fast forward to the transplant in 2018, that really transformed my life as far as wellness, feeling better, because before then I was lifeless. I couldn't do a lot. Lupus had me like down. So like I said, with dialysis was my lifeline. Then I had the transplant, and I've been doing very well. And then 2020, I decided I wanted to get active because my body was terrible. I lost a lot of weight. And then that's when Kim ventured out and started her fitness program. And I was like, I'm not a gym rat. I've never been to the gym prior to, and I was never going to go. I'm just not that person, So she introduced fitness to me, and it's been great. She's been a great support for me.
So that's a really good point and I love that you guys are each other's support system. But you said you weren't a gym rat. So how did you reinvent yourself?
Well, with lupus, you have to. I've been through a lot. I was diagnosed in 1996 with lupus, with the skin, issues. So that progressed over time. But yeah, it's just, if it wasn't for Kim, I don't know where I would be, because before I met Kim, I didn't have no support. I wasn't in any support groups. Nobody around me had lupus. I was just alone. So meeting her changed my life.
So it sounds like, close support systems, but also bigger group support systems. Tell me more about that.
So in 2005, I was diagnosed with lupus, and I'm sure my story sounds similar to so many others' story as far as, you're living with these symptoms, you're not aware, there's not a lot of awareness on lupus, you don't see a lot of commercials, you don't see a lot of people talking about it. So you live with a lot of symptoms, the inflammation, sometimes you just brush it off as stress, the fatigue. You're not realizing all of these things that you're experiencing are trying to tell you something. And at the age of 25 and just, as a single mom trying to run several businesses because I was a regional manager for a big company, I just brushed everything off for who knows for how long I have been dealing with it. But for at least a year, I've been brushing things off as it's just stress. I'm probably tired. I probably need to eat, just making up excuses. And finally, I went to see my primary care physician who had no idea what was going on, but thought it could possibly be lupus, referred me to a blood doctor. All of this to bring me to a lupus diagnosis. Fortunately, only took 3 months for my diagnosis, which is very fortunate because for most people it can take years. But I was diagnosed early on, and I went through a really hard time in my life after being diagnosed, just dealing with depression. When you're 25 years old, being told that you have to take medication every day for the rest of your life is very, very hard. And having to deal with that and, going through the whole denial, anger, feeling alone, because there's not a lot of information out there about lupus. Unfortunately, you have to find I think that, God was with me in the sense that he put people in my life, in our lives that we were able to meet that brought on that support. So through the first 2 years of my diagnosis, I went through a deep, dark depression. I almost died several times. I could go into stories of that, but I won't. Have plenty of those. But I made it through, and by the grace of God, I'm here today. And I told myself that, being that I made it through, I never, ever wanted anyone else to experience the loneliness that I felt. I mean, I have my family there. My family was there, and their support was there, but no one truly understood what I was going through. As much as you try to explain, as much as you try to break it down, read a science book about it, no one truly understands what you're dealing with unless you actually live with it. So I went out and created the Lupus House Foundation, and we started some support groups out in Riverside, which is in Southern California, Rancho Cucamonga. We grew up to the Bay Area, and we hosted support groups for about 11 years, up until the pandemic, which we brought everything online. But the goal behind Lupus House Foundation our focus was solely to promote healthy living. And it wasn't just about coming into a support group to vent and to cry and to have a pity party, even though we did do that. We had topics, and we really wanted to focus on cannabis, skincare. We had doctors come in and talk to us about acupuncture, meditation. We had professors come in and talk to us about just all kinds of things. We had, our chakras. We have a disability judge who came in. Yes, because you got to sit there. So it's important. We had a disability judge, Judge Drucker, the kindest lady in the world. She came in and helped a lot of us deal with understanding how to get on disability, because a lot of people with lupus were unable to work. So throughout those past 10, 11 years of my life, we had these support groups, and that's how we built a really big community. We had the Lupus Project, which is an event once a year. And, through that volunteer time of that 10 years of doing these support groups, I decided that I wanted to do something to give back through fitness, through health and wellness. So that's where House Fitness and Nutrition came along. And this girl here, she's been there from the beginning till the now. And just as much as I feed her soul and spirit and physically, she's supported me through it all.
So beautiful. That's such a great story that you all work together and that you have this network within a network. You have your ride or die right here. And then you have all of these people that you're supporting that are feeding into each other. And that makes everything a lot easier when you really think about it, than if you're trying to go at it alone. And I guess I want to bring in Dr. Lindsay, just curious, how do you see that help with your some of your patients, like having relationships? How can relationships impact their progress in therapies with you, in treatments with you?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things, like I was describing before, information is so key to many conditions, right? And no one knows more about sort of the networks and the people who have to navigate them, right? So I commonly will say, get connected with a group that is somewhere nearby. Now, again, everything's gone virtual, which has really opened things up. But even before that, no one knows the best trainer that works with lupus more than lupus patients, right? Like they are going to be your best resource, right? I love being the plug and the traffic director, but there's going to be someone who moves and there's going to be someone else who knows sooner than me. Oh, there's someone that took over their practice, or someone that does this, someone that does that. So without question, that support is well documented across a lot of medical conditions as being a resource that's just as valuable as any other healthcare worker or provider or intervention. So I see that all the time. Having someone plugged in, they're kept accountable, they're kept motivated, they're given more specific information than something that was just very generic on the surface. Oh, do some exercise. Right? That's invaluable.
Right.
And I was going to say, I think also you talk about groups. I know I used to run actively, and I got into that with Black Girls Run. That was one of the running groups I first started with. And I feel like somebody here is working on some running too. We're gonna talk a little bit about that, but
it ain't me. I got bad knees. I cannot run.
we're gonna talk a little bit about that when we bring in the next group of guests. But I mean, just one more question to you, Kim. Even with your practice, you started this, and you in talking one-on-one with you, you mentioned the idea of transitioning people into the gym. And can you talk a little bit about why that process sometimes is helpful?
Yeah, I'm so happy you brought that up because that's so much of my passion. A lot of people, especially women, and that's who I mostly deal with, they get that gym intimidation, or they're intimidated to go into the gym. And to see my clients come in and maybe be afraid to just lift the weight, or understanding form and breathing and just how to stand properly and just look at themselves, because we have a mirror in my private gym here, and look at themselves and feel confident when they're doing the exercise and understanding what they're doing. All of that helps them build the confidence just to understand the exercise, so that when they go into the gym, they at least know that, okay, my trainer Kim taught me this part. She told me, when I'm doing this bicep curl, to make sure that my form is like this, and they can remind themselves and think of all those cues and see themselves in that same position and feel confident that they're doing it correctly. And for me, seeing these girls that I train come in here and not feel confident, and then walk into any gym and grab the weights and go to where all the free weights are, where typically all the big men are, and they just go over and they grab the weights and they just do it, and it's like, oh, it's just the beauty to see them have that confidence and to understand what they're doing, and be able to go without me and send me videos like, look at me, and they're lifting heavy weights and stuff. Like, that's everything to me. And it plays not just a part in the physical realm of a gym atmosphere, but in life, because a lot of times you might be uncomfortable to walk into any setting and just be yourself. And I think that this allows you to think about how you can use that confidence and that courage to do the same thing in any situation.
So I'm so happy that you're saying that you and Nefertiti and other people you're working with are having so many more good, confident days. But I still want to know what you do when you have that bad day, because it comes inevitably.
Well, I mean, Neff is having a bad day right now. If you could, I mean, you can't see, but right now she has a broken foot, and she came in yesterday, broken toe, and her whole, she has a boot on her whole foot. But this girl came in to work out. I'll let you tell it, but
yeah,
she.
It's been a challenge, because I've been out for about a month now from working out since the holidays. She's been on vacation, and now I broke my toe on Christmas Day. So it was kind of fortunate, because I've been having hurdles with my workout. My father passed in September, so I ended up losing 8 pounds. I haven't had good days in between that time, and Kim has been real patient with me. Some days I have no energy. Some days it's like, I can't do it, don't want to do it, but she motivates me. She's like, just do what you can. And she does not force me, and she doesn't overwork me. She sees where I am, and we go from there. So she helps me out on those bad days. But there's been days where it's like, I'm not coming today. It's just I can't get out of bed or whatever the reason may be. But we'll pick it up the next time, and she works with me at whatever level I'm at.
And I think that's the important part, is just learning to meet. If you don't have a trainer or someone to motivate you, just learning to meet yourself where you're at, even if that means you're just in the bed. Maybe you're in the bed and you're doing a stretch, but you're just continuously moving and not just, just laying there.
Kim, you couldn't have been leading me better into our next guest, because we're going to be talking to her, fitness coach Lizette, about how you assess your workout readiness, your workout level day to day, how it changes. So I want to welcome fitness coach Lizette Santamaria to join us.
Hello, my name is Lizette Santamaria. I am a lupus warrior diagnosed in 2006. I'm also known as the lupus coach, and I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach, registered yoga teacher, and certified personal trainer, and the founder and owner of Discover Your Power. I have gone through many different health challenges when it comes to my lupus. Some of those stemming from inflammation in the body, causing pain, extreme fatigue, hair loss on multiple different occasions, inflammation attacking my kidneys, and also attacking my heart, causing high blood pressure, and even a stroke in 2009. So with that being said, I finally decided that enough was enough, and I was going to do everything possible to help improve my health, heal, and to eventually get off of lupus medications. One of the things that I experienced early on was my rheumatologist strongly advised me not to have children because of the medication that I was taking. I was taking Celcept, which is also known as mycophenolate. And when you are taking that medication, it's not good to have children because it can have birth defects. So going through all of those personal experiences really gave me the motivation that I needed to decide to make changes when it comes to my health. And so I started to research, and I decided that I was going to explore holistic lifestyle changes. And one of those holistic lifestyle changes was exercise therapy. Exercise therapy is something that helped me tremendously. And it's interesting because my physician at the time strongly encouraged me not to exercise anymore. He told me that I shouldn't run, I shouldn't lift weights. And he gave me that advice because from his perspective, he realized that that could send me into a lupus flare. However, it's important to understand that everybody with lupus has different experiences, and exercise therapy actually helped me and really gave me so many different benefits, such as improving my mood, improving my strength, lowering inflammation in my body, reducing pain, stress management, sleep management, gut health management, the list goes on and on. So when you are someone with lupus, it's important to understand that you can explore different methods of healing and just see what works for you. So in terms of exercise therapy, I'm so happy to say that today I am off all lupus medications, and I have achieved lupus remission. And going through those experiences really encouraged me in so many different ways. And I became very passionate about holistic lifestyle changes in order to heal and improve your health. So much so that I'm currently pursuing my PhD in holistic and integrative studies. And I also created a coaching program made specifically for people with lupus that want to heal and improve their health through exercise, and also for any individual that just wants to start their health and healing journey. So my program includes 2 exercise therapies, one of those being yoga and the other one being personal training, where I take my clients through weekly workouts, and I also provide them with workouts that they can do in the gym or at home. So before we go into those workouts, I would love to introduce you to one of my very first clients in my program. She is my dear friend and fellow Lupus Warrior sister.
Hi, I am Gabrielle Davis. I'm a lupus warrior, like Lisa said, and I'm a lupus patient advocate, and I'm happy to be here. I want to take you a little ways on my journey really quickly. I was diagnosed with lupus in July 2009. That came after a lupus flare, that had come to known as a lupus flare. During Valentine's Day of that year, I was a newlywed. It was the exact wrong time to experience such a thing, but lupus is never time friendly. And so that happened, and I did not get to celebrate with my husband. Instead, I ended up in the ER. And the only thing the doctors could tell me after experiencing so much achiness and inflammation, dehydration, and fatigue was that my white blood cell count was off. That's all that my blood work showed. And so after seeing my primary care doctor, he thought it might be a connective tissue disease, and he referred me to a rheumatologist who 5 months later would formally diagnose me with lupus. About 1.5 years into my lupus journey, I was diagnosed with lupus nephritis. So I was hit twice. That means that kidney disease entered the picture, and eventually I would need to go on dialysis. So I started on dialysis, which was I'm grateful for it because it allowed me to be alive, but all the while I was not able to keep up physically. I was not able to continue my passion of being active and going to the gym and doing the things that I love, which is, just hanging around and running and lifting weights and, really empowering myself despite lupus. It had gotten to the point that I had to choose to slow down a little bit and let dialysis, help me to get better and just leave it there. Well, thankfully, in July 2021, I was blessed with a kidney transplant, and it was literally a life changer and a lifesaver. The lights came on, everything was bright and great, and the energy came back to my body, and I knew then and there that I wanted to start my fitness journey again. And fortunately, was just starting her program, and I got to be her practice client. And she took me from day one, from like having no strength, being out of the exercise game for a while, not even knowing all the moves, just having to get reacclimated to movement, progressively working me up from low impact exercises to adding dumbbells, combined movements, and a lot of repetitions. And now she has laid the foundation for me, and I'm so much stronger and better for it. So I'm always grateful that she asked me to be her client because she set me on a path of wellness. So thank you. And I'm excited to share our moves.
All right, so when you are a lupus warrior, a couple key things before you begin any exercise therapy program. One, I always encourage you to speak with your physician. Let them know that you're going to be participating in exercise. And 2, make sure that you're listening to your body. This is key because we all know that lupus is unpredictable, so you never know when a flare is going to come. And it's also key because you need to be able to communicate whether you are feeling good or whether you need modifications for your workouts, and your personal trainer should know that. So make sure to communicate that to them, and please know that it is okay for you to do both high and low impact workouts and modify if needed. So with that being said, before you work out, it's always good to get a nutritious meal, drink a lot of water, and stretch. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have Gabrielle do a stretch so you can see what that's like. And we're going to be doing upper body and lower body workout. So we're gonna go ahead and have Gabrielle lay on the ground so she can stretch out her lower body. We're gonna have her take a deep inhale, bringing her left knee in. So that way she can stretch out those key muscles that we're gonna be working out today. So she's gonna inhale, make sure that she's stretching out those quads, those hamstrings, her ankle. And then of course, whatever you do on the left side, you should also do on the right. So she's gonna bring that right leg in, make sure to stretch out those quads and hamstrings and her ankle. So from here, I'm gonna have Gabrielle stand up and we're gonna make sure that she stretches her upper body as well. So it's important to stand shoulder width apart, engaging your core even while you're stretching. So we're gonna have her do some neck stretches forwards, all the way around and the other way. So that way she's stretching her upper body. To continue with the upper body stretch, we're gonna have her do some shoulder rotations. So stretching her shoulders forwards and then also backwards as well. She can also stretch her wrists. This is gonna be really important for those upper body workouts that we're gonna do. And then another key area to stretch are the hips. A lot of lupus warriors carry inflammation in their hips, so I'm gonna have her do some hip rotations one way, and then of course, making sure that she goes the other way as well. And once you are fully stretched, it's also important to make sure that you do a quick warm-up. One of my favorite things to have my clients do for a warm-up are jumping jacks. So I'm gonna have Gabrielle do a couple jumping jacks here. This is great for a warm-up. And if you are not able to do full jumping jacks, please know that you can also do step outs as well. This is another way that you can modify with your warm-up. So once you're fully warmed up, now you can start your workout. So we're gonna start with a low impact workout. And the key to low impact workouts, especially if you have lupus, is to make sure that you incorporate body movements, that you are just using your body and your body weight and making sure that you are engaging those core muscles. So the first movement that we're gonna do are squats. So with the squat, make sure that Gabrielle has her legs shoulder width apart, roll those shoulders back, engage her core, making sure that you are focusing on your breathing. And I'm gonna have her squat low with controlled movements, inhaling as she goes down and exhaling as she comes up. And notice that she's going to about a 90-degree angle and she's making sure to engage those quads, those hamstrings with every single movement. Very nice. So now that she worked the lower body, it's important to know as far as your reps, I always have my clients, when they're doing low impact movements, doing about 6 to 10 reps at a time. So now we're gonna transition to the upper body. I'm gonna have Gabrielle go back down to the ground and do some push-ups. So of course you can do full push-ups, but also know that it is okay to modify. So Gabrielle's gonna be doing push-ups on her knees, making sure that she is engaging those core muscles, which include her biceps, her triceps. She's inhaling as she goes down and exhaling as she pushes back up. Again, slow and controlled movements and making sure to engage her core. Very nice. And third and finally, I love a good core workout. So Gabrielle's gonna be doing the bird dog exercise. This is really good, of course, to strengthen your core, but it also incorporates your glutes and your shoulders. So we're gonna have her extend opposite foot, opposite hand, squeezing at the top to engage those glutes, engage the core, and engage the shoulders. And what you do on one side, you also want to make sure that you do on the other. So she's going to switch opposite hand, opposite foot, squeeze at the top and come back down. Very nice job. Thank you so much. All right, so now I'm going to have Gabrielle demonstrate exercises for a high impact workout. So now that she has used her body weight for the low impact, we're going to transition to using freehand weights. So here Gabrielle has 5-pound weights. It's important to understand that as well as shifting to weights, you can also make sure that you are increasing your reps and also increasing your weight if you would like. So I have clients that start off at 2.5 pounds all the way up to 20, 25 pounds or more. So today she has a 5-pound weight. We're gonna start with the upper body. So legs shoulder width apart, and we're gonna do some bicep curls to work those biceps. So she's gonna roll her shoulders back, engage her core. Inhale, controlled movement up to the curl, and exhale as she comes back down. So again, I'm gonna have Gabrielle do a couple, but typically for a high impact workout, you would wanna do anywhere from 10, 12 or more reps. Very nice. So the next movement that she's going to do with the weights are squats. So same positioning here, still engaging that core. She's gonna hold the weights right here. Inhale as she goes down to a squat, and exhale as she comes up. Notice how she's doing slow and controlled movements, and she's engaging those quads and those hamstrings, and of course her core. Very good, thank you. Also, one of my favorite things to incorporate into a high impact workout are combination exercises. Combination exercises includes more than one body part. So for this movement, we're going to be doing a thruster. The thruster works out both the lower and the upper body at the same time. So with the thruster, same positioning, leg shoulder width apart, engaging your core, posture tall. She's going to inhale, holding the weights all the way down to a squat, and she's going to move to a full press as she exhales up. And she's going to continue that movement for about 10 to 12 or more reps. Very nice. Thank you so much. So again, all of those exercises is one set. So it's important to do 3 sets for a full workout, and of course, decreasing or increasing your reps, depending on if you want a low impact or high impact workout. And as always, just like you did beforehand, before you work out, make sure you drink a lot of water, make sure that you eat a nutritious meal, and also stretching. She'll stretch afterwards and make sure that she gets enough water and a good meal to replenish her muscles. So those are examples of workouts that you can do. If you would like help from a coach and trainer, I am your girl, and I would be honored and blessed to help you. Thank you so much. Bye.
So Chanel, we know you're a big exercise guru. So tell us, what type of lower body stretches do you like to start your workouts with, or if you're going for a run, for example?
Oh no, I'll start doing little things like hip swings, which is just swinging your leg back and forth, and then outside and in, so I can get all of those hip complex, everything moving and going. Because I think we always think about the gluteus maximus, and there are like a billion other muscles in your behind that need to get moving before you start running. So there's that. I do love arm circles, little ones and then bigger ones. And I have like certain songs, like my power workout songs that really help me out. So like mine is, don't stop, drop that, don't stop. Stop that. That is like my song. That's like my get myself hyped and excited to work out song. So I think that that's something that also like really helps me warm up, is having the like power songs that get me excited as I work out. So definitely, I think we have so many different types of exercise. And I also think that you mentioned something, Nefertiti, that talking about things that are you lying down, lying, and we say prone, lying flat, straight out. And sometimes it isn't a standing thing. Maybe we don't have that ability and that capability. And so I do love, thank you so much, Kim, for keep continuing to highlight this idea of progressing and regressing and moving forward and moving back to where people can go back and forth. It's so important. Because I know sometimes we get frustrated. I want to start picking up weights and looking like fabulous in the gym. But Kim, can you talk a little bit about like how you progress and regress? Like, what are the things that people need to think about when it comes to like getting to be able to, let's say, do a push-up? How would I build the stamina and endurance and strength to do a push-up?
So for me, the most important thing, and I'm so happy you asked that because we're all so excited to hurry up and get to that goal. We want to do the 20 push-ups. We want to have the nice shoulders and arms and look good in our clothes because it makes us feel good, right? But if you want to get there, you want to make sure that you get there safely. So the most important thing is going to be your form. So it's important to make sure that you're working with a trainer that emphasizes form, that takes the time and the patience to not just yell at you and say, get on the floor and give me 20 push-ups. I need you to show me how to give you 20 push-ups. I need you to help me with my breathing as I'm doing the push-ups. I need you to make sure that my core is tight. As I'm going through this, also, a lot of times you want to make sure that your trainer understands how you're feeling today. Like maybe you're just having a bad day, and I've had lots of times where Neff's just not in a great mood, and she's like, you know what, Kim? I don't feel like I can do that one today. And you have to understand that, especially if you're dealing with someone with a chronic condition. So sometimes you take things slow. You start off with breathing, proper form, and you may not be able to get on the floor and do a push-up. Maybe you might do a kneeling push-up. Maybe you might even start off with a wall push-up. Just know that whatever your goal is, if there's a will, if you have that will, there's a way. And if you're dealing with someone that's telling you there's no way or it's impossible, I'm going to tell you right now, get yourself somebody else to deal with. Because if you have a will or a want or a way that you want to look or a way that you want to feel, there's a way. And we're gonna find that way for you. So if 20 push-ups is your goal, hey, we may start you laying on your back and lifting some water bottles to strengthen your shoulders and your arms. That may be where you need to start, but just know that there's a way for you to start.
I love that positive outlook, Kim, and I think that's so helpful. And I think I know what Dr. Lindsay's going to say, but we actually have a chat question that is, when should they see a physical medicine doctor? But I think this plays right into what you're saying, Kim, about adjustments and modifications.
Exactly. So just like that, a very wonderful place to start with someone that does physical medicine rehabilitation is, I have a specific question. We have attempted it and we have had difficulty getting around it. Is there another way to approach that goal? Is there a piece of information that we are missing? So maybe the goal is 20 push-ups. Maybe a certain joint will not tolerate you doing the push-ups with your wrists straight out. Maybe you need to change the position of the hands or the elbows or the shoulders. So I think about, okay, what components may be limiting this? Is there something that we can adjust that on the movement or form side? Is there something we can better understand on the body side? And or in the cycle, when does it seem to have difficulty, being accomplished? Is it just a timing thing that we need to do? And so that is where I would recommend having someone like a physical medicine rehabilitation provider give another set of eyes that is literally just trying to say, yeah, I think that you are asking the right questions, approaching things the right way, versus, we could try it this way and see if it works. If it doesn't, okay, move on and continue to pursue. But that's how I have attempted to add value to whomever I see, but especially the patients that have longstanding or chronic inflammatory conditions that just require a slightly different approach than what I sometimes call the cookie cutter gym sports approach that usually works very well for very young with no comorbidities or other medical conditions. And then it has a difficult time being applied as soon as some variation is thrown in there. And that's usually where you need to have someone that has experience, especially if they have, a medical condition of their own. So someone had mentioned that a lot of how you choose a provider, whether it's a trainer or a therapist or whomever. But if someone already has clientele that have these conditions, they're probably going to be a great resource. Someone who does not at all, they're going to be learning with you. So it's not as though they cannot learn. But that's the thing that I at least always tell someone if they are willing to ask the questions, reach out to your providers and show that they're willing to do the work to learn and adjust and not apply flat out, this is how I train, you're probably going to be okay.
And that's really helpful. And I think to even take it to the next level, say, for example, Chanel comes to see you and she has knee pain because she's been doing a lot of running. You know, what are qualities that you would tell her that would be helpful when she's picking out a trainer?
So just as I said, if she's starting with, hey, I'm trying to do this thing on my own and I don't think I'm ready for that. Right. That already we've established we have a need, we have a goal. So now we can say, hey, are you willing to help me craft this plan? Are you willing to be with me while I do this? Mm-hmm. And are you willing to adjust such that, you know, we can approach whatever I have going on?
Someone who's like gonna shift, who's gonna adjust, who's gonna work with them and involve them in the process, which, you know, I think that sometimes people don't realize that you should demand that. It should be someone who's willing to, you know, work with you, who's willing to really listen to what your needs are and change, because as Kim and Nefertiti have been telling us, those demands change day to day.
Exactly.
And I think it's really, really important that I want to say thank you so much to everybody here for bringing this light. I think also, you know, with our guests, just being able to tell people that are living with lupus, that are really experiencing severe challenges, that movement is possible, that lifting weights is possible. It's just having to do it the right way and sometimes with the right people around you. So, and I know for those of you that are looking to join a gym for the new year, new you moment, a lot of times the first thing they give you is a free training session. Use that, steal all the things you can. So passing it back to Dr. Michaela.
Yeah, so I want to make sure we have enough time for another beautiful close from Chanel. And I wanted to thank Biogen, who's our sponsor, and remind you all that if you're interested in any additional information on lupus or clinical trials, to please go to the link biogentriallink.com so you can see it right below. So check that out. And we're going to have Chanel end our show.
Every blink, every knee click, every creak, every stiff back and wrist, every movement, everything my body does, I am aware it is a privilege. I know that movement may not be intuitive. I know that aches don't make exercise feel possible, but I know that mobility can set them joints free, that dance can make the heart happy, that the weight of lupus lifted with overhead presses can help make my joy be real. See, I work out to manage the stressors. I work out because sometimes I want to cuss folk out, but yoga might be better. See, I might not always feel my best, but if all I can do is a stretch, then that's enough. If tomorrow I need to rest, then what my body tells me, I'm going to trust. But I know that my body is beautiful no matter what it does. My movement is a blessing, and lupus can't take that away, because anyway, no matter what, I'm going to feel my joints be free one day. So I ask you all to take that time, to take the time for yourself, no matter what else everyone is pushing on your plate. Take that time to just unwind, to stretch, to soar, to feel those legs and limbs move. Try to do more day by day. This is all we can do sometimes, and that's okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all.
Thank you again to our sponsor, Biogen. We are looking forward to joining you in the same place Tuesday, January 24th. We're going to be talking about lupus rebound, how to reverse the drama of a rock bottom flare-up. So hopefully we'll see you all next week.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.